my early 30s, I was diagnosed with a condition called ulcerative colitis. And it was a condition that doctors said we would be able to manage without any trouble. Now, for me, this wasn't anything new because I've always been sick with allergies and asthma ever since I was a young girl. I always remember carrying an inhaler with me wherever I went in case I had an asthma attack. So it was just another thing that I was going to deal with, and I was going to get through it, and it was going to be fine, and I was going to follow the advice and recommendation of my doctor. I began my medication, I began my treatment, and I was not responding. And as time progressed, my symptoms became worse and worse. It came to the point to where they were no longer manageable, and the doctors put me on a double-blinded placebo study for experimental drugs at the Mayo Clinic. I went through that and I did not respond. By this point I was on massive doses of steroids. I didn't look like myself anymore. I didn't feel like myself anymore. I was on long-term permanent Social Security disability. I had arthritis in every joint of my body. My disease had gone systemic. I had arthritis everywhere throughout me. I had lost the use of my bodily functions, so I was wearing diapers. And I just felt like I was a 90-year-old lady. And to be honest, I really would have been okay if I just died. It was embarrassing. I had an embarrassing disease. I was holding my husband back. I felt like he was a young, vibrant man married to this 90-year-old lady. My poor children watched me suffer. I did everything that I knew to do, but I just wasn't getting well. So I was just kind of stuck. And the only thing that the doctors really wanted to do for me was to cut out my lower colon. I had been bleeding internally for 6 years. And I was told that if I did not remove my lower colon, the diseased part of my body, it would probably turn cancerous. And that was something that I didn't want to add to all the things I had going on. So my doctors had talked about scheduling that at UCLA. And in my mind, I was preparing to have my lower colon removed. However, what happened was incredible. While I was waiting for all of that to transpire, a friend brought over some information on some natural supplements. I decided to try them, not because I was excited that I was going to be well. I had tried so many things before, and every single time I was let down. But I decided to try them because this was a friend who watched me for 6 years. They watched me suffer. They knew me when I was healthy, and they knew me when I was sick. And they never offered anything. And I respected them, and I didn't want to just ignore their advice or their recommendation because I felt that I needed to validate that. So just out of obligation, I decided to go ahead and give this a try. So I can then tell them, oh, thank you, I tried it, it didn't work, here you go. And off I go to get my surgery. Not that I was excited about the surgery. In fact, I was dreading it and I was dragging my feet. I wanted to keep all of my body parts. But before I had the opportunity to go in for the surgery, my bleeding of 6 years began to slow down. And then it stopped. And as I stayed on this natural supplement, I began to regain my stamina. My arthritis began to lift. My fatigue began to lift. I started to regain control over my bodily functions. I didn't have to wear diapers all the time. And as it began to improve, this is what I realized. I realized that every 50 days, I was ingesting 1,000 prescription pills. And as my health improved, I began to wean myself off of each one of those prescription medications. I began to reevaluate what I was eating and what I was drinking and what I was putting in my body. And I realized that I was not helping my condition. And as I regained my strength and energy, I began to read and I began to study, and I was fascinated at how my body was changing, and I never wanted to go back to where I was. And that started my quest and my love for natural health and healing. And today I can tell you I am not on any prescription medications. I do not carry an asthma inhaler with me, and I can't remember the last time I even used one. I feel good, I'm healthy. In fact, I am the healthiest I've ever been my entire life. And I'm so thankful for that. Well, once I regained my energy and my stamina, and I started to feel better, and symptoms began to work themselves out of my system, and I was off my medication, I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like I was healthy and well, but what I didn't realize is I wasn't really healthy. I was just not sick anymore. And there's a big difference between being healthy and being not sick. So I was working out. I had a physical trainer. I was doing really well, and I caught a cold. And after catching this cold, of course, you take it easy, but I was having trouble getting rid of the cold. And once I finally did shake it, I had chronic fatigue. I was just tired all the time, and I couldn't even start my workout program again. And this is where I realized, you know, I've come a long ways, but I still have a ways to go. And that's when I had some NAET treatments. And after the second treatment, I didn't realize that I was allergic to the down comforter I was sleeping with. And every night I would go to bed and I would cover myself up and cuddle up with my down comforter, and it was an agent that was weakening me and making me sick. And as I began to realize that all of these things around me were not helping my health, they were actually keeping me from becoming healthy, each treatment I noticed something different. And I felt stronger and stronger and stronger. I was amazed that you could be allergic to iron, that you could be allergic to calcium, or to protein, or to vitamin C. I just didn't know these things. Once I experienced wellness through NAET, I then had my children treated. And I can tell you that my daughter, who would have excruciating stomach aches, they went away. My son, who has had migraine headaches, no longer has migraine headaches. And we were a sick family. We really were. Colds and flus. I can tell you that I had a medicine cabinet with 2 boxes of cold medication, flu medication, diarrhea medication, anything you can think of, we had it. And I don't have that anymore. Well, these treatments just fueled the fire of my love for natural health and healing. I was just always a medically minded person. I always believed that it was just the Western way was the only way. But yet my whole foundational belief system was being shaken. I was getting better, and I was getting better using treatments and techniques that just didn't fit into the square little box of modern medicine. And I wanted to learn more. So I went to school and I got my degree in traditional naturopathy. And I have studied and trained under Dr. Devi Nambudripad, who's the author of NAET. She's an incredible woman, and I have learned so much. And now it is just an absolute pleasure for me to watch people go from being ill or sick to no longer being that way anymore. I can't tell you the satisfaction I get, because I know what that feels like. I have the compassion to know how trapped a person feels, how embarrassed they feel when they're sick. I often felt like maybe people thought I was lying about my disease or my illness or about being sick, or it was just an excuse to not show up at the next party or the next meeting, or to go to a place that I was supposed to be, or get out of a commitment that I had made. I really wanted to live a normal life, but I couldn't. And now I get to work with people who want that whole life, who want that healthy life, that abundant life, and they just don't know how to get it. And it's just so much fun to work with them.